earning a super high income skill that allows you to start to become financially free, break out of the quote unquote rat race, and stop working your job making internet money, to learn your first skill that every single person online talks about. Usually that's what they're selling their audience, is the skill that they initially learned. Learning that skill, which absolutely could make you your first $10,000, your first $25,000, your first $100,000, your first $1 million, is not the same skill that that is necessary to really scale a business. But unfortunately, it is wildly necessary to take the first step to having a business. Let me explain. When I started helping large businesses do all of their organic social media. And I'm not going to go into the story of how that happened because I was just solving a problem in the marketplace. I was not passionate about it. I didn't give a fuck about it. But I admired and wanted to work with these large businesses. One of them has a massive multi-billion-dollar company. He has hundreds and hundreds of employees, and I wanted to learn from him and his friends. And they had a need, so I decided to learn a skill to fill that need, which was helping them grow their organic media to where we could drive more lead gen for their business. And with that skill, I made my first 10,000, my first 25,000, I think maybe even $35,000 or $40,000 a month. And now it wasn't always super consistent. It would go up and down. A lot of it was performance based. But besides the point, with a skill, I broke out, and you genuinely do not need more money than that. The problem is that skill is not the same skill that it takes to get to $450,000 per month or to really scale a team. But it's necessary. It's a necessary step to get you there. Because without a skill, you don't have a business. You don't have an idea. You don't have something that's commoditizable. You don't have something that's valued. And you need a value exchange relationship where you start to take on clients. If it's a service, which is what most people sell online, every single one of these people, they're usually trying to grow like they're usually selling you drop shipping, they're selling you paid ads, they're selling you like something where they're teaching you the information, which is a high paying skill, and then teaching you how to make money from that skill and how to learn that skill, which I have no problem with. I make videos for a different reason, which is to find employees. Because my business model, I have a marketing agency. The biggest constraint of an agency is incredibly high caliber talent. It's very easy for me to go out and get clients. I could take on 100 clients in the next year, all paying $25,000 per month. The problem is I wouldn't be able to service them. With agencies, if you provide the highest quality service and you actually make a super high ROI for your clients, they are going to recommend you to every single one of their friends. And then it's very easy to snowball that and continuously grow, which is the stage where we're at now. But the thing is, now I'm learning a completely different skill to scale, which is not just doing my job, it's learning how to manage people, which is so different. And that's what all businesses come down to at the end of the day. And you could be an incredibly good entrepreneur where you're super good at your skill, but if you're not also incredibly good at managing people, or you can't identify the person to manage the people for you, it's going to be wildly challenging to scale. And what I mean by this is the one client that I was talking about, his name's Ken McElroy. He is a multi-billion-dollar company. Ken is never the one doing the work. Ken could do all of the work. He could do the accounting for his business. He could do the underwriting on the properties. He could manage the properties. He could go to the development and run a construction crew when he's renovating his properties or building them. He can go out and raise the money. He can go out and find the property, but he's not the one that does any of it now. He got really good at each of those things, systematized it, brought in people to do it, and then started to build out other layers to scale. But the hardest part is the people portion. That sounds easy in theory. What I just talked about, you get really good at something, you systematize it, you get people to plug and play into it, and then you start to expand, vertically integrate, and continuously grow. But people are very hard to manage. They have issues that go on with their own life. They don't care about work like you do. They are not hyper obsessed with becoming the best in the world at what they are doing. It's very easy to let things slip through the cracks. It's very easy for things to go wrong. And at the end of the day, they're not at fault. The business owner's at fault. So when you have all these verticals, when you have the construction company, when you have the management company, when you have the acquisition company, when you have the underwriting company, when you have the accounting built inside, if something is going wrong in those, it's not their fault. It ends up being your fault, the business owner, when at some point, each of those departments is managed by its own manager, which then gets trickled up to Kent and his partner Ross. But he's never the one actually boots on the ground doing the work. He just has people doing the work. But he has to know so much about each thing to know who to hire, how to hire them, how to incentivize them. The entire thing is incredibly challenging. And all the risk goes on his shoulders, which is a lot of the reason why entrepreneurs make so much outsized returns. Because you have to be so good at so many things, take all the risk, make nothing for so long until you have this huge outsized return. And now that we're really scaling, and I think that we're almost at 15 full-time people and then probably 25 total people that are working on the business, which is ridiculous. That is a lot of manpower working for one thing. That is not easy to manage. And I'm thinking within 12 months from now, we'll probably have closer to 80 to 90 full-time people that will be working for it. That comes with new sets of problems where you don't have as close of a relationship with every single person on the team. So how do you maintain culture? And then how do you incentivize that over time? What happens when we go from 12 months from now, 80 to 90 employees, to 3 years from now, we have hundreds and hundreds of employees? How do you maintain culture at scale? Another one of my clients who I'm excited to be able to work more with this person to learn from him. He has over 1,200 employees. And the number one thing at scale is always ends up being, how do you maintain culture and behaviors with people that are unpredictable, that always have issues at scale? And it's a completely different skill set. It's a completely new set of things that I'm needing to learn every single day that is different than what I had to learn to make my first $10,000. But to make $10 million, this is what is necessary. And then to make $100 million, there's going to be other things that come up that I don't even fucking know yet. But it is really exciting. But I would say the key is, when you're starting, you just pick something and get incredibly good at it. Honestly, I wouldn't have cared what I started with. I would first off not want it to be something that I'm not already interested in. I was interested in what I was doing. I would not want to go into coding or doing something that I'm not tech savvy, so I would not do something tech savvy. But if I was tech savvy and I enjoyed doing that, then I would do it. Because if you were going to start with a high income skill, the number one thing that you have to look out for is, can you be 100 times better than the second best? And if you can be, then you can make so much money on your own. It is incredible. A lot of these guys that are in the digital marketing space that I look up to in a lot of ways. This one guy, Jason Fladman, who did or at least was consulted for Alex Hormozi's $100 million webinar that he had. He did Iman Ghazi's. He's doing Iman Ghazi's next one. He is the webinar GOAT. He's very little known. He makes a ton of money, a ridiculous amount, but he doesn't have a large business. I would say most of that is when I listen to his podcast, when I listen to his audible book, he has an incredible skill. He is a world-class marketer, but that being a world-class marketer is not going to relate to him being able to run a super large business. Because being the best in the world at what you do does not allow you to have the skill of managing people, which I don't think he has. He has admitted he does not have, which is fine. And he can still make probably $10 million per year in profit, substantially happy. But that type of person will have a very hard time growing a multi-billion-dollar business if you don't know how to manage the people aspect of it. Which, it doesn't matter what you want to be. If you want to be if you are the best in the world at anything, this guy's the best in the world at webinars, and he's making 8 figures yearly, I bet. So if you are the best in the world, you will make a lot of money. But if I was starting out, it would just be the best in the world at something that has the tailwind pushing forward. I would not want to be the best in the world at website design now, or YouTube thumbnails, because AI is taking a lot of those things for the graphic part. And so I would just want to pick something where if I was the best in the world at, there is a lot of tailwind for me to dominate that space. It's a growing industry. And then once you spend 2-3 years of becoming the best in the world at it, you will make a lot of money. If you are genuinely the 0.01% at a skill, you will make a ton of money from it. But then after 3 to 4 years of making a lot of money from that skill, then when you start to branch off and grow it into a business, that's when the next set of problems arise, which is the problems that we're at, which are just different. It doesn't, everything has problems. I have no problem with it, but the problems that are coming up now are substantially bigger and substantially different than the problems I had when I didn't have a business. I had a high-paying, self-employed job where I had no overhead. I was just becoming really good. Most of it is just you're not good enough. If you are not making a lot of money and you have a skill, you are not that good at it. Guaranteed. If you were, then you would show the best results in the entire world and it would be unequivocally obvious. So the answer is always just get so much better at what you're doing. That is the only answer. Because the reality is I'm still not that good at the skill that I was learning. I need to get 100 times better so we can level up and have the team be 100 times better. Because proof is really undeniable.